Hi, my name is Robin O'Leary and welcome back to Rope Coaching's YouTube channel. Today we're going to take you through a complete warm-up for climbing. No matter if you're a beginner, intermediate or advanced climber, we've got the conclusive warm-up for you. From myofascial release to your max hangs on a hangboard. Stay tuned. This warm-up is all about prepping your body to perform well. At first it will be taxing and new to you, but over time it'll be the best way to prepare your body to climb hard. So we're going to talk you through everything. We're also going to track our complete warm-up on our COROS watches. If you have a COROS watch, you can actually log onto your training hub and get any of these warm-ups ready for you so you can just follow along. Again, we've set 3 different ones for a beginner, intermediate and advanced climber. And with this video, we're going to be talking about which bits you would add if you're a beginner or take out, and then which bits you'd add if you're an advanced climber and intermediate climber. So we're going to start off with myofascial release. Myofascial release is really important. It was actually introduced to us by a friend of Lynn Hill's who worked with the Detroit Pistons for 30 plus years as the head of medical. Essentially, they had the resources to do a lot of research on it and track their team's injury rate. And myofascial release is really important because not only does it make you more elastic and increase your range of motion by up to 25% each time you do it, it also, most importantly, reduces the temperature buildup of your muscles. And the research showed that if you did this myofascial release, you had a much longer, more productive session than those that didn't do it. Really kind of, the ones that didn't do it hit their kind of peak and couldn't really train beyond 2 hours. Whereas if you did this myofascial release, you can have a more productive session. So Alex is going to walk you through the session, and there's basically 8 reps of each exercise, and yeah, you can follow along now. Okay, Alex is going to be the demo and we're going to walk you through the complete myofascial release. So, as I said earlier, it encases your whole body, so it's really important to be intentional with your movement. So your feet should be pointing forwards, knees over toes. Slight bend in your legs and everything kind of relaxed facing forwards. Your fingers should open wide, and the first one is the sweepers. So we'll probably speed up this after we've done a few of them so you can just follow along. But you're going to do 8 reps of these and then maintaining that same stance, you then come together and push forwards. I'm going to do a bit of a walk around whilst Alex is doing that. Next one, we're going to come across our bodies. So imagine you're holding a bowl of water in your hand. So your fingers are still spreading apart, feet still the same. You come across, and we're looking at full range of motion here. Everything's below shoulder height for now. 8 reps on each side. Again, this is all logged on your watch if you want to do it. Next. Opening up the shoulders, so starting to go above your shoulders, and you'll see as we progress through this warm-up and the myofascial release that some of the exercises are very relevant for climbing. Obviously now we're looking at that reach from side to side and starting to go above shoulder height, as I said. From here, things get a little bit more complicated. So the initial one, pointing the toes, stepping across, keeping the hips facing forward, so you're not twisting the hips, and you're pointing those toes and touching the floor. From here, the next exercise is going to focus on back foot, front hand. So you see how Alex is opening her fingers, pushing out in front of us, and the back foot is the front hand. They should be pointing just forwards. Again, 8 reps of these. So from here, we're going to keep that same stance, coming across our body, the foot going in front, but now the hand that was going in front goes up. So back foot, up hand, and you see how she's opening those fingers still. 8 reps on both sides. From there we go back to the neutral stance, but now we start standing behind. You step 1 foot behind. However, we're going to keep the same concept of back foot, front hand. It's quite hard to coordinate at first and you may seem like you look a little bit funny, but you get used to it. And Alex and I do this whether we're indoors or outdoors every session now, just because the science was so conclusive. And Arnie Kander, who was the Detroit Pistons head of medical, and now actually is for Orlando Magic. Yeah, he's for the head of medical for Orlando Magic now. And he gave us all this data. So anyway, you can see that the front hand now becomes the hand that goes up, but it's still back foot and hand that moves. From there, you've done 8 reps of everything, and that's your full myofascial release. From now, we go to antagonistic band work. Okay, next up is the antagonistic band work. So we're really looking at the rotator cuff. So important with climbing. It gets tired quickly, but it also recovers quickly because we use it doing everything, all of the supporting soft tissue. So I'm going to use this band. This one's actually really tough, and you can either hold it, for example, if you're outside, or you can wrap it around a bar. I'm going to wrap it around a bar today. Again, this is all logged on your watch. So the next exercise, it just takes you straight through. So 56 reps in total. Now, one thing that's really important with the first exercise is that we see a lot of people doing this in the gym, and they ping their elbow to their upper body and they do this exercise and you can see the kink. It's not going to do anything good for you. So standing again, knees over toes, you want maybe a 2-inch gap between your elbow and the side of your body, and you're going to go through full range of motion. So again, with all of these, we're going to do 8 reps on both sides. So I'll switch sides, exactly the same. All of these exercises so far are for beginners, intermediate, and advanced climbers. So first things first, I say first things first, next exercise, we're going to get some torsion under here, and we're going to start punching forwards. I don't want my arm pushing in or pushing out, so it should be just a straight line under tension. Again, 8 reps on both sides, but this time I'm going to go from this exercise straight into the next one. So punching forwards. If you find it too tiring, you can just do 6 inches to begin with, and over time build up to full range of motion. 8 reps of those. Same exact stance, and again, same principle. I don't want my fist going in or outwards. Now I'm going to start doing the uppercuts. So again, it should be a straight line. My arm stays at 90 degrees, and this should end parallel with the floor. Once you've done 8 on that side, for both, you just switch to the other side. So 8 punches. Next up, standing under torsion again, we're going to pull out to the side, pull back, out to the side. From here, now we go above head. So you can either wrap it around a bar, or you can literally just hold it with a straight arm, and the other arm goes behind your back, and then in front. 1 rep is from both in front and behind. So as I'm talking at the same time, I've completely lost my count. I think I'm on like 5. So if I don't do 8, I mean to do 8. So don't hate me in the comments. Once you do this, switch sides. So behind, in front, behind, in front. I used to do a lot of javelin. This is one of my warm-ups too, back then. And then we wrap it around the back of our bodies, around the shoulders, 8 circles going outwards, and 8 circles going inwards. I'm really pushing my scaps, so I've got a rounded back doing this. Next one, the classic. We're going to do frontal and lateral raises. Frontal to begin with. And I'm feeling a deep burn in my shoulders, and it's kind of normal and acceptable to feel it. Like I said at the beginning, your rotator cuff muscles get tired really quickly, but they also recover really quickly. 8 in front, so frontal raises, and then next, my counting's so bad, next is lateral to the side. If you have any issues, impingements in your shoulder, an impingement in your shoulder, you go to the point where it hurts. It's still a great exercise to do. So whether that's in front, typically hurts when you lift your arm above your shoulder, just go to the point that's a bit achy. My shoulders are okay. But this band is super tough. That's why I'm doing this one. Alex didn't want to do it because the band's too tough. So that will take you through. Next up, scap pull-ups. I'm going to get Alex to demonstrate this one. Next up, scap pulls. Just a point to make, you can do this on a bar or a hangboard, jugs. We see a lot of taller people doing this on hangboards, whether they're hanging and they're arching their lower back massively. So in an ideal world, you'd point your toes and engage your core. But the really key here is that you start from a complete collapsed shoulder, as you can see Alex is doing, and then raise up. We're going to do 2 sets of this. Your first set, you can see that it's just range of motion. On the watch, again, it will tell you, once you click the button, it will tell you, okay, rest for 30 seconds, and then on to the next one. Once you do the next set, we want you to do a little bit of initiation at your elbows. So you pull. Can you see that difference? So the beauty of this is sometimes people find that initiation, the initial part of a pull or a one-arm pull-up really hard, and this helps you engage from your shoulder. So imagine you do a move, and you engage your shoulder, and then you engage your biceps, your arms. It's a really good exercise. 8 reps, both sides. Okay, next exercise, we're going to be looking at single arm scapular pull-ups. Now, for the beginners that are following this on COROS, but also just in beginners in general, you probably don't need to do this exercise yet. So we're kind of categorizing intermediate climbers as V4 to 7 and advanced 8+. So for the intermediate climbers, feel free to use this band like Alex is using. You still want really good full range of motion. You see the gapping between her deltoid and the ear. You want that. And obviously, if you feel confident that you don't need the band, then I'm sure Alex will show you this time without the band. Again, hanging, you see that big gapping between her deltoid and her neck. 4 to 6 reps, intermediates. Advanced climbers, you can do 6. But also, with the advanced climbers, you can actually add a little bit of weight for here. Rather than assistance, you can have resistance. And we'll show you that now. So the goal here isn't to go crazy. Alex is just adding 5 pounds. So she can add a lot more weight when she hangs on the edges, as you'll see later on. But just hanging, again, looking for that full range of motion. Adds a little bit of strength to all those exercises, all those muscles that are helping the rotator cuffs as well. But really engaging. So this helps for when you hit a hold and you're full extension, being able to engage. And then you'll see Alex always has this little pull in the elbow too. And she gets a little bit of power from there. So you only add weight if you can do this with really good form. The gapping, and full range of motion. Next up is purely for advanced climbers. So we're going to do single arm hangs from a bar with a heavier weight. Okay, next up is a single arm bar hang. So this is for advanced climbers, intermediates, you can try this too. And again, you can use assistance, so I could wrap a band around this. So the importance of this is when people are starting to do their one-arm hangs, often they've done lots of hangboarding in the past and their fingers are strong, but they go into this one-arm hang and they can't hold it. And it's often not the fingers being the culprit of the weakness, it's the shoulder. So obviously we want that stability and strength behind an engaged shoulder. That's what this is all about. So from a bar, starting collapse, so no gap here, and then just hanging engaged. One thing that's really important when you do this exercise is you can learn and you can help use a bar or something like the wall in front of you to help you learn this. But if you push on the index side of your finger, you'll start to rotate. And if you push on the palm side, you'll start to rotate. So if you have any rotation, you can actually control it like by pushing through either side. That opens me up. And if you push on the pinky side, it rounds me around. So you can hang engaged and you start to learn that control, which is really applicable still to when you're doing your single arm hangs and you have a rotation. You need to strengthen your position in this front on position, which is really relevant to climbing. If you start rotating, you can actually stop it. One with the pole, but learning to control with your hand is really important too. Alex is going to show you this same exercise now with weight, because again, a load of climbers, especially advanced climbers, want to strengthen those fingers and have weight hanging from this edge. And again, we need to prepare this, just as much as we do our fingers. So making sure our shoulders are strong, holding weight in this engaged position, before we jump on the fingerboard. So we're preparing our body. So you'll see that this is engaging. Again, you can use that bar if you want to, if you have rotation, but hanging that weight so our body's right under that hangboard, shoulder engaged. 10 seconds is great. You can go up to a fairly heavy weight. Like Alex, when she does her single arm hangs, can easily, sometimes easily, hang 25, 35 or even 40 pounds. Really good form. Don't want that arch in your lower back, you want it engaged. 5 to 10 seconds. Intermediate climbers, you could do this obviously body weight and 5 seconds, build up to 10 seconds. Advanced climbers, you really want that 10 seconds just for strength and endurance. So next up, your 2-arm lock-offs. This is actually can be for beginners, intermediate and advanced climbers. We do this every time before we do single arm locks. For beginners, you can see that Alex is standing in a band. This is purely to help you, make it appropriate for you. So we're going to do 2 locks, quarter lock and a half lock. Alex, you can come a little bit lower to 90 degrees. So you want that 90-degree bend in the elbows. And we're just going to do 5 to 10 seconds. So if that's new to you, the bands will be really important. You can see again, Alex isn't arching her lower back, core engaged. She's dropped out of a half and she lowers down to the ground in eccentric. But you want to do 5 to 10 seconds in a half lock. And then for beginners, you do 5 to 10 seconds in a quarter lock, which we'll show you next. Intermediate and advanced climbers, you can actually do, obviously without the band, but you can do 2 at each angle too. Okay, next up is the quarter. Obviously Alex lowered through, and Alex actually goes half into quarter, but it's easier if you separate the exercises. So quarter lock, 5 to 10 seconds. She's demonstrating this now without the band. You can see good form, core engaged, shoulders engaged, 5 to 10 seconds. So intermediate climbers, you can do 2 sets of those. Beginners, you can do 1 set. Now next up, we're going to look at single arm locks. Now we're going to look at that 90-degree angle. One thing I haven't talked about is on the watch, we've set times for everything. So if it's a 10-second workout, we'll probably do 12 seconds. So it gives you time to press it and then start. Or for example, if you're doing 20 seconds or 10 seconds on each side, it could be 22 seconds. So you've got a couple of seconds spare. So I'm going to start this now for lock-offs. My timer started and it gives me this 10-second kind of mark, 2 seconds to prepare. And you're going to do this 90-degree angle, core engaged, I'm not arching my back, and then it gives me the timer, and then I switch sides, and exactly the same. So 10 seconds in this position. Don't do this one if you've got dodgy elbows. So you'll notice for those, I actually go into this position that's much safer for the shoulder. For a quarter lock, you can do the same thing. You can go into this position or this position. For the shoulder, I like to go into this closed position. Everything on the hangboard, I do facing forwards just because it's much nicer. So I'm just starting my timer. And then you could just do a quarter, exactly the same. It's really important to do both because, again, climbing's got this indefinite movement. So whether you're locking or you're engaging to a certain amount, it's really important. But I do have to stress, this should be an intermediate or advanced exercise. Probably advanced only in my opinion. Okay, next up, we've done our shoulders. We've got to look at the fingers now. So we're going to start on a big edge. So Alex and I typically go between a Beastmaker 1000 and a Beastmaker 2000. All tensions, very simple, but this will be for all levels. Beginner, intermediate, advanced. Again, for beginners, you can add pulley systems to make it easier for you, but we're going to do all of these are going to be 10-second holds. So that's going to dictate if you need assistance or not. And also the edge size, again, can be completely varied. So if somebody finds a 40mm edge and they're maxing open and half, then they may just do the 3 sets on there, but I'll explain that as we go. Alex is going to do this first. Setting the watch, so it gives her 12 seconds to do this, and she's in, go. So open-handed, 4-finger hang, shoulders engaged, just like the scat pull, and you can see, for those wondering, this is an open-handed grip. So the index finger you can see it's completely open. And you'll see that that's very different to the half crimp, which is next. So this whole session is 10-second hanging with 1 minute rest between. So Alex is going to rest for 1 minute, and then she's going to go to the same exact edge type. So that's 40 millimeters on the Beastmaker 1000. And once she's done that 1 minute, she goes to half crimp. So here, feet off the floor, shoulders engaged. And the key difference now is you can see that that index finger, the pointer finger, has got a really strict 90-degree bend at the middle joint, this PIP joint. All 4 fingers engaged, good ulnar rotation. So the pinky finger is working too. After you've done that, 1 minute rest, hit the button, and then we're going to go down an edge size. So next up, this is a 30 mil edge on the Beastmaker 2000. 4 fingers, open-handed drag. You can see Alex doing that. Shoulders engaged, exactly the same process. 10 seconds. Once you've finished, you rest for a minute, and then the same edge in half crimp coming up next. So next up, we're looking at that strict half crimp. So slightly more angle on that right finger, babe. 90 degrees, the pointer finger, half crimp, 10 seconds from the 30 mil edge. And then once you've done that, you'll rest for a minute. Those with the watch, you can track that. Okay, so next up is the 20 mil edge. Now, just before Alex goes, a couple of things to point out. So like I said at the beginning, if you find the 40 mil or the 30 mil, the max effort for 10 seconds, you can either add assistance for this next one or stay on that edge size. The other thing to note is that Alex has got very, very strong fingers. So she typically does a couple of hangs in the big slots and then does most of her hangs on this 20 mil edge. So 10 seconds to begin with, open hand, logs it on the watch, and good to go. And 4 finger drag. 10 seconds, exactly the same process. Once you've done that, you're gonna rest for 1 minute. Okay, so the last of your progressive hangs is a half crimp 20 mil edge. This is for all climbers if you can do it. Strict 90-degree bend in that index finger, shoulders engaged, 10 seconds. Use assistance if necessary, otherwise just body weight for everybody else. Once you've done that, the next one is all about density hanging, so longer duration holds. Now, this whole warm-up is to help people have a routine, whether you're indoors and out. And after a while, it may feel taxing at first, we'll talk about that shortly, but after a while, your body becomes primed, ready to perform once you follow this routine. It's something that you're gonna follow forever. You don't really need to change it. So everything up to now has been very progressive with the fingers. So open hand, half crimp, changing down the edge size if applicable until you get to this 20 mil edge. So beginners now can go onto the wall and start climbing intentionally. So focusing on precise footwork and handholds, and then becoming more dynamic and speeding up, etc. Intermediate and advanced climbers, we're going to move on to density hangs, a really important aspect of hangboarding. We're now going to look at longer duration holds. So a density hang, in reality, should be kind of 30, 40 seconds or until failure. And what's happening in a chosen grip, and we're going to use this strict half crimp, is as we hang for a longer period of time, provided our fingers aren't opening or our shoulders aren't collapsing, your soft tissue fibers start to stretch. And when they do so, they start to rub against one another, creating a thickening effect. We want this thickening, stiff, more robust soft tissue, tendons, for healthy climbing, more robust, for injury prevention. So as you'll see, and I'll get Alex to demonstrate, now we're gonna do a 20-second hang in a strict half crimp. So if this feels really hard for you on a 20 mil edge, you have those options of adding assistance with a pulley system or moving up an edge size. It has to be applicable to you. We normally suggest that this out of a 10, so an RPE, max should feel like a 6 out of 10. If you're doing this and you're getting horrendously pumped, either the edge is too small or you're not resting enough. We have done this for years now, and we do 20-second hangs, 4 sets with 1 minute rest between. Now, if you find that 1 minute too taxing, then increase it, or like I said, increase the edge size. The other thing you can do is hang for a little bit less, 15 seconds, but 20 is ideal before climbing. You're in. Again, shoulders engaged, cores engaged, you're not collapsing your lower back. And you can see if I come closer for this 20-second hang, that index finger is in a really strict 90-degree position. Once you've done the 20 seconds, then feet on the floor, and you've got 1 minute rest before the next one. 4 of those. I'll probably just time lapse or hyperlapse the next set. So density hangs are an excellent kind of exercise to building that robust soft tissue, but it does take a toll. So if you do them, listen to your body afterwards and avoid repetitively crimping on climbs. Okay, so at that point you've done your density hangs. Now is the time most of you will then start climbing. We're going to cover a full max hang session in other videos. That could be a max hang session or an intro session to hangboarding for beginners, an intermediate using 2 arms, 1 arm, and a max hang session. But Alex and I are going to show you what we would do before a typical climbing session. This could be day 1 on, this could be day 2 on. For day, regardless, we would do some hangs on this 20mm edge or a 22mm edge, which is the middle of a Beastmaker 2000, just to feel recruited, because we're going to go out there and climb after a warm-up and pull as hard as we can, use small edges. We have to get our body ready to do that, and our brain. So that's what we'll do next. A couple of 5-second hangs on a 20mm edge. I will do both sides, and typically I would do, if it's on my second day, 1 or 2. If it's on my first day, I'd do 4 or 5. If it's a max hang session, I'd be trying to push the weights, but just before a climbing session, maybe 2 sets of body weight. So one thing you can do is if you're struggling with the 1 arm max hangs, you can just use assistance. Or if you like the idea of progressing, there's many ways which we'll cover in a proper max hang session, especially the single arm stuff. But often if you're kind of building up to it, just use assistance. Ideally the pulley system with weight, and you know exactly how much effort you need or assistance you need. But another way of doing it is like Alex just showed you, using kind of a stationary pulley system or another hand just to help. If you're trying to build up, longer duration holds is better. If you're looking at max hangs, shorter, higher intensity.
Another tool that we really like to use for part of our warm-up, if it's for rehab, secondary part of our warm-up for inside, also when we're outside, because I mean it is harder to warm up when you're outside on the rock, but this really helps. It's a tension block here in a Tindeq, which is a force plate, and it can measure whatever you're doing. If you're pulling down, if you're pulling up, whatever you're doing with it, it will measure, and it has an app where you can see the measurements on your phone. So as you can see, the top left, we have what I'm pulling currently. You have the time, and then you have what my max was. See, if I'm going up, the max goes up. You have your average, and then you can just easily reset it and then start over and do it again. But this is really cool, especially when I'm rehabbing anything. I want to see the progression in which, if say I have a finger injury, as I'm recovering and getting better, I can see the strength increasing in that finger. So this is a really cool tool for warming up, but especially outside, it's like a game changer. So. Definitely not my strongest today. That is okay. But again, like it can be, there's so many factors of, not feeling your best each day. It could be you're tired, you could be fighting a cold, stressors or anything that's going on in your life. But yeah, and that's totally fine. That's where I'm at today. And now I have that knowing when I'm going and doing the rest of my training for what I have on the agenda.
So we're nearly at the end of the warm-up now. It seems quite long, and for those that all these exercises are new to, it will be long and it will be taxing. It will have an impact on your climbing session. But over time, this will become your norm, and it's basically just a process of being progressive and warming up your body. So whether you're indoors or out, and like Alex just said, that Tindeq and the tension block, if you're outside, you can wrap around it and start doing all those progressive hangs and the density hangs using that. If you're obviously indoors, you can use a bit of both, hangboard like we showed you. The only thing we haven't looked at is generating power and pulling. The other thing is catching. So a couple of additional warm-ups we like to do, and this can be applicable for most levels as well, is a contact strength thing where you jump and grab a bar. That gets your shoulders ready, gets your hands, wrists, elbows ready, and also a power pull session. So we'll talk about those and how you can kind of enhance them, make them easier or harder in a second. So first up, getting those shoulders ready, contact strength. Contact strength, for layman terms, is basically the ability to hit a hold and generate force quite quickly. So think about canvassing, or if you're making a big dynamic move and hitting a hold and having the strength to hold it. If you've ever felt your hand hit a hold and unravel, that's a lack of contact strength. Before you do that with fingers and canvassing, one really simple exercise is just jumping and grabbing a bar. When you do that, engage your core, suck your belly button in, tilt your pelvis and catch. And you can catch at different angles, 90 degrees, quarter, you can go wider. All of those things are going to help with contact strength. And you can jump from further for like comp style climbing and be more engaged that way. But just a few of those just help prepare your brain, your body, the proprioception of understanding how to control your body. The other exercise that we sometimes do is just to generate power, and it's a power pull. You can either do an explosive one from the beginning, just a fast pull up. You can do one that's slightly more activated, so it's more bicep orientated, so you're really waking up the biceps. Or you can do one that's a bit more like a muscle up, where you do full range of motion. Any of those could be enhanced by using a band, like Alex was showing you on some of the fingerboard warm-ups and the shoulder ones. Whack a band around and help yourself generate more power. If you feel like your pull-ups are so slow, then it's something that you can easily develop. And again, in your warm-up, the quality is high and the contact time can be quite low. So you're just going to build this repertoire for your climbing. Okay, well, welcome to the COROS Training Hub. So you've obviously got your dashboard, whether you have a COROS or not, and it gives you all of your information. So say, for example, today it's saying, hey, I'm ready to perform. It is a climbing day for us. So you can go to your Evo lab metrics, so you can look at overall training loads of the weeks, and you can see, for example, the intensity train in the background, the load impact and the base fitness, this kind of blue line building up. We can also look at activity lists. So for that session that we recorded, for us, it was more than just the warm-up. We continued afterwards, and it will take us to this section. So up to here, we're talking about kind of the warm-up. And the beauty of this is I can either go, there's 9 exercises in this session, but we'll say 8 as part of this filming. So if I, for example, go to the exercise, then the first 8 will look at my heart rate and the average heart rate throughout it. I can also just break them down. So Myofascial Release, for example, it looks at my heart rate during that. And these exercises, as you'll see in the list in a second, will have a specific RPE. So we want you to stay at a fairly low intensity session. Obviously, when it comes to max hangs, you try hard. There may be higher spikes, but also as we were filming, there was a bit of delays. But normally you'll see these peaks and troughs. So maybe a slightly higher heart rate when we try absolute hardest, and then recovery, and you'll start to see this kind of interval style of training. The beauty of all of this is that we can just track training load. We can see how stressed your body is. But if we go back to the calendar, we'll show you how easy it is to add sessions. So for example, on that day we did a strength session, and the run actually followed. Yesterday we did a light run. We're running a lot more because we're in Texas with looking after Alex's mum at the moment. But if I go into workouts and, for example, I grab one of these warm-ups, I can just drag them in. This is what you would do. If I then click on this warm-up, it will tell me exactly what we're going to be doing. So Myofascial Release, it says 80 reps because essentially there's 8 reps and there's 10 kind of exercises. We basically skip rests on this because it makes it nicer to flow through your sessions. You start Myofascial Release, you do them, then you press the button, and it goes straight onto antagonistic band routine. 56 reps. Again, there's 7 of these exercises, so 8 reps of each. Again, 1 set, skip rests. Scapular Pull-ups, there's 8 reps, 2 sets, 30 seconds between. So these will all flow really succinctly together. There's single arm scap pulls, assistance needed. This, for example, is the intermediate climbing session. 1 arm bar hangs, 12 seconds. It's actually a 10-second hang, but like we said, we like the 2 seconds to kind of get yourself prepared. Same with the progressive hangboarding. All of them are 10-second hangs, but if we add 2 seconds, it gives you time to just press the watch, set up, hang. 6 sets of these with 1 minute between the one-arm bar hangs, 2 sets of 30 seconds between, and then the density hangs we talked about are obviously 20-second hangs. We've added 2 seconds here. So the beauty of all of this is it's so easy to add sessions, move them. You could, for example, just copy and paste sessions. You could say, I want this one, I want to put it here. I have all of my training in here. You have weights and conditioning, so machine legs, strength and conditioning routines, and you can track all of your load. So the beauty of it, like I said, is it just means that you can monitor fitness on the days that your HRV is low from poor sleep. Maybe you've had some alcohol, or you've overeaten, undereaten. You can see all of your metrics, which really is useful for deciding kind of how hard you should push it on a training session. But yeah, this gives you a bit of insight, and I hope you find it useful. We genuinely do. It's not something that we're just trying to make money off. It makes our lives better as climbers and coaches, and therefore we think it adds value for you too. Right, that's it. That's the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and you've learned something. Alex and I genuinely do that warm-up every time we climb, whether it's day 1 on, day 2 on, inside or outside. Obviously, like I said, if it's outside, we would use the Tindeq and the tension block rather than the hangboards. We really stress this point about warming up to our clients with rope, because often you see climbers come to the gym, they may have been sitting down at a desk all day, they may have been sitting in their car going to the gym, and they put their shoes on and start climbing. Your body, your brain, nothing's ready to perform yet. This warm-up, yes, it's long, but it helps prevent injuries. It makes you stronger, and it gets you ready to do what you're about to do, which is climbing. So another point I have to stress is that if this is new to you and you do all of those hangboard routines and then you jump on a moon board or a kilter board, your fingers are going to be tired. So typically, if it's new to you, this warm-up, I would then go and climb and focus on movement so your fingers don't have a huge amount of contact, or avoid really crimpy climbs because it could kind of stress you a little bit too much. The other thing to note is that we've been talking about this session being logged on our COROS watches. You can see in the descriptions below that we've actually provided links to take you to a beginner, intermediate and advanced workout. So if you do have a COROS watch, you can log onto your training hub and get it onto your watch. You can literally just follow along. You could also have this video playing in the background. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more content coming soon.